Hi guys, this is Tracy with Four Wheel Consulting, and I want to talk to you about one of the most important game changers in my career, and that is the miracle morning. They say that if you are a successful person, that you have some kind of morning routine that you do before you go out into the world and deal with chaos. And if you look at, anyone, Oprah Winfrey, or who's the guy from Mask? Ace Ventura. Jim Carrey, there you go, Jim Carrey. He got so into his morning routine and his version of the miracle morning that he wrote himself a check for $10 million while he was waiting tables and living in his car. And he wrote himself a physical check that he could not cash. And he received a part of Dumb and Dumber and made just about $10 million on that deal. So putting positive energy out into the universe, putting positive energy into your mind is a super powerful thing. And some people argue with me about how it's hoity-toity and it's weird and airy-fairy and all that good stuff, but I'm telling you that it changed the trajectory of my life and of my career for doing it. And I've met many, many people throughout the years that I've got to do this. And I in fact, just last week ran into someone who met me when I started Four Wheel Consulting 7 years ago, and came up to me and said, I read Miracle Morning and it changed my life. And that was 7 years ago, and I just ran into her again for the first time. So it definitely works. So I'm going to recommend that you read this book. It's by Hal Elrod. Understand that there's many versions of the Miracle Morning. There are Miracle Morning for realtors. There's a Miracle Morning for millionaires. There's a Miracle Morning for salespeople. You want just the Miracle Morning, the original version of it to start with. Then you can kind of go from there. But he talks about his life as a business person in real estate, and how he suffered loss and suffered challenges and kept coming up from the depths of hell, and the crash of the market in 2007, and he finally realized that he had to change something in his life, and he had to figure out a way to get himself together for the day, and this is where the Miracle Morning came from. So there's 6 activities that you do every single day. You can do a shortened version of it, but it's supposed to last about an hour. Mine actually lasts about an hour and a half. And you'll see once you get into it that you can kind of tweak it to make it your own, and maybe you spend more time on one thing than the other. But for me, what I do in my process is I get up every day, I have a glass of warm lemon water, I get dressed, because if I don't get dressed, I'll go back to bed. And then I usually will go down to the basement and walk on my treadmill and read. So I'm getting exercising and reading in at the same time. Ladies, you'll appreciate this. I used to negotiate with the treadmill, and I would see what was on the odometer there, and I would, if I was going 3/4 of a mile, I'm going to go to a mile, or if I was on it for 20 minutes, I'd go to 30 minutes. But now that I read while I'm on the treadmill, I don't even pay attention, and I end up walking like 3 miles, and I wasn't even paying attention because I was reading something really interesting. So it works for me. So again, I get up, I have my water, I get dressed, I go down to the gym, I walk on the treadmill, I do my reading, then I do my visualization, my affirmations, and my my meditations, my silence. And then I go upstairs and have a cup of coffee. I reward myself and sit down and do my journaling. So the way that it works is the acronym SAVER. So SAVERS. So S is for silence. So that could be what I do is meditation. You can do devotions or prayer, or whatever you're comfortable with in that 10 minutes of time. But the idea is to not think of anything else and just be silent for 10 minutes. So I actually had to get an app on my phone called Headspace in order to guide myself through this meditation, to kind of teach myself how to do it. And I've definitely mastered it throughout the 7 years that I've been doing it. But it's hard for my personality style because I'm thinking of all these other things at the same time. So it's taken a long time, but I finally have mastered that. And the A is for affirmations. Loudest voice in your head is your own, and it's telling you usually negative stuff. It's just human nature for your brain to say, well, that's going to be hard, or I can't, or I've never been good at. And an affirmation is simply turning that into a positive thought. So instead of I'm not, I am, right? Or I've never been, I'm going to, work at. You don't have to lie to yourself. So for those of you old enough to remember Saturday Night Live and Stuart Smalley, and he used to look in the mirror and say, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. You don't have to lie to yourself. You don't have to make it something that is unreal, but you do have to turn that negative into a positive. So whatever it is that you're working on, change it to a I can, or I am, or I am working on, and just write those down. And every couple of months they change. Sometimes I write them down. Sometimes I read them to my phone and repeat them to myself. Sometimes when I'm having a really bad time, I'll sit there and look at myself in the mirror and do exactly what Stuart Smalley does, because I need to, get it into my brain. But it's important. It's a really big piece of it. The V is for visualization. You can't go somewhere unless you can picture yourself there. So visualizing whatever it is that your hopes and dreams are, if it's a new home, or your kids' college paid off, or a vacation home, or helping others. You can't help others if you're broke. Okay, so it doesn't have to always be about things for yourself. You can't help others if you don't have the money to do so. So it's important to be able to visualize that. E is for exercise. You should do it, at least 10 minutes of stretching or something to kind of get that body going in the morning. R is for reading. Feeding the brain is really important in order for growth. And then the final S is scribing, which is journaling. This is very, very powerful, and what I recommend for people who've never journaled before to just start with a gratitude journal, and then you can work your way from there into whatever you want it to be. I started with a gratitude journal. Sometimes I go back to a gratitude journal, but in the meantime, I've learned how to write. Right now, I'm doing my wins and losses of the day. What is it that I really mastered and did really well at and knocked out of the park, and what things can I improve on? And I do that every day for myself so I can go back and look. And it's fun to go look after a 4 or 5 year period of your journals and see how much you've accomplished and how far you've come personally. And it shows in my business because my personal development has gotten better. So my business has gotten better because of it. It's kind of an amazing thing. So to recap, you want to do those 6 things every morning. In the book, it talks about, how much sleep you need is a good example. Before I started doing the Miracle Morning, I definitely needed 8 hours of sleep, is what I told myself. And then I realized that the conversation that you have with yourself before you go to bed determines how it is that you're going to get up. So let me give you an example. I could only have 4 hours sleep one night because I got home really late and I had to get up really early in the morning. Instead of saying to myself, oh my God, I'm going to be so tired and it's going to be awful and it's going to drag all day, I tell myself 4 hours is plenty, I'm going to be just fine and I can take a nap when I get home. And I literally had that conversation with myself, woke up in the morning, got up, energized all day, and didn't even need a nap. So if you have any more questions about this, give me a call, but I'd love to help you with the Miracle Morning. Thanks.